So we're coming around to a new ladder, and actually, this might surprise you, but when I'm live streaming, I see in my comment section, pretty commonly, in fact, people that are coming back to Diablo 2 or coming to Diablo 2 for the very first time. So around the beginning of ladders, I love to bring videos that help out the newer, more casual players. So today I'm bringing you a look at a gear setup that'll work absolutely great. Super mega budget that will work on pretty much any caster in the entire game. You can mimic this gear setup exactly the way I got it, and then kind of put other pieces on that'll kind of complement whatever type of character or build that you're using. Now I'm going to show you this on my druid right here, but hey, this will work on, like I said, any casters. If you're rocking Fist the Heavens Paladin, the Hammerden, Nova Sorceress, if you're rocking Blizzard Sorceress, if you're rocking, well, like I said, any of the casters, this gear setup will pretty much work on them. Of course, you never know exactly what you're necessarily going to find, and maybe you want to take a little bit of a different route. So I'll show you what I'm rocking, and I'm going to give you some different options at most of the different places. So first of all, Spirit Sword on a caster. This one right here particularly is kind of like a, I wouldn't say non-negotiable, but as soon as you can get this one, you're going to want to get one. It is incredibly powerful. Any of the casters, the skills, the FCR, all that hit recovery, ton of stuff on there, mana vitality. Before this, you're pretty much rocking, I don't know, like a 10 FCR wand or something like that. So this is one spot where there's not really other options for casters. Spirit Sword is going to be the way to go. Now over on the offhand, the shield, I mean, if you're a paladin, of course, use a paladin shield, or maybe you're going to be using a necro head or something. But for most casters, Rhyme Shield is a great option before you can make your Spirit Shield. You get Cannot Be Frozen, which is kind of clutch to get early on. 25 all res. You do get a little bit of Magic Find too, which you know you always like because it helps you find even better gear along the way. Block rate and increased chance of blocking. There's another rune word called Splendor. I usually don't go that route. I usually go with the Rhyme Shield right here, but perhaps you could find yourself a lidless eye along the way as well. Now for this instance, I'll jump over to the offhand here, and right here, I actually have a teleport staff. This, in my opinion, is another thing you definitely want to get before you can get teleport. That way you can reposition your Act 2 mercenary, pulling him out of danger and stop him from dying quite so often, because early on with budget gear, your Act 2 mercenary really struggles to survive. There could be another option you have on the offhand too, right up here above my head. Lower res wand. You can shop these from vendors along with the tele staff you can shop from vendors. And lower res, I generally wouldn't put this on every single monster. I would usually just use this for like the act bosses and things like that. Jumping up to the helmet now, I think that actually the gemmed crown with topazes in it is actually absolutely clutch. And you notice I want to get that magic find so incredibly fast, super fast. I usually just go ahead and stick flawless in the actual helmet right there. If you didn't go with flawless, you'd have to find 9 flawless topazes in order to cube those up to perfect topazes. And I've actually been before where I tried to get the perfect topazes and I'm 2, 3, 4 days in the ladder and I just can't get my hands on it. I'll be playing in a party and the people I'm playing with just grab them way too fast. The difference between 3 perfect topazes and 3 flawless topazes, I think it's only 12 magic find total. So I would rather have multiple days of having 60 magic find than losing those days to get myself 72% magic find. So I swapped that out and threw another great option up here. It's probably the other option that you're going to want to use if you don't want to use that magic find helm. And here we're going with the lore Ort Soul, 1 to all skills, and a couple other things on here that actually help you out, just pretty much come from the runes. You got the 30 to lightning res there. I suppose the 2 to mana can help you out early on as well, and just a little bit later too. I personally do prefer the topaz helm up in this spot, but I'll leave that choice up to you. Down in the armor, you're probably getting this in normal difficulty, to be honest, and you might just use it all the way through the entire game unless you find something crazy like a Viper Magi. But here we got stealth, 25% to run, walk, cast rate, and hit recovery. You can get that like if you get super lucky early on in normal difficulty. Other stuff on there helps you out too, of course, like the poison res, but incredibly cheap, very incredibly good. So there aren't really going to be a ton of other options for casters. Like I said, you may use the exact same studded leather armor stealth like through the entire game. Up on the amulet, at some point, as soon as you get yourself a topaz, go ahead and make yourself one of these. Now, I only made 1 crafted caster amulet. I got 15 FCR. Don't expect that. It's incredibly uncommon to get anything over 10. Usually you get 5 to 10 inherently, along with some other mana stats. And I actually got lucky enough to get some skills for the druid. Now, this is not a summon druid, the wind druid that I'm going to be rocking here, but it's kind of interesting. It got the druid skills on it as well. Cool thing to note, I actually only gambled 2 amulets. The first one was actually this one right here. You could get lucky with something with druid skills as well. So especially for the ring and amulet slot, just gambling something up really quick, because sometimes you can't necessarily find exactly what you want. But for most casters, just a generic caster amulet is probably going to be one of your best options through the game as soon as you get your first perfect amethyst, and maybe even after you beat the game. Now we'll jump down to the rings, of course, like the amulet, and here on the rings, once again, if you pick up an ID, something that ends up being pretty good, you can go ahead and use it. So here we just got a poison res ring. I actually gambled this one, so as you pick up and sell armors and wands and scepters and things along those lines, use that gold to gamble for particular items and spots that maybe you couldn't find anything better. You probably might find a ring something like this. I ended up gambling it. It's what I got. Over here is another ring that you probably could find pretty early on too. You see just level 3 required, but I did also gamble this as well. And as you're identifying, you could get, some other things. We got some poison res ring if you need to make up some strength. So you can always run over and gamble a few rings here and there. They are kind of expensive. You have to sell 2, 3, 4 wands, armors, and things like that to get enough gold in order to go ahead and gamble one. But you could always end up hitting lucky with a rare too. Now for the gloves, picking up an ID and stuff is kind of like, hopefully you get lucky, but usually I end up just literally shopping some res gloves, something like this along the lines on most of the playthrough, and I may even end up finishing the game with something like this if I don't find a better rare item or get super lucky with some mage fist. And when I say shop, I don't mean like go over and gamble till you get the right thing. You can literally run over to Charcy, just run up to a bunch of different vendors, at any of them that sell gloves, and look for the exact res that you're looking for, like the lightning right here. Perhaps you're looking for poison. Here's another one I bought from a random vendor. Or hey, this is a little off topic, but you can get skills for the Amazon, the bow and javelin, martial arts skills for the assassin too, along with getting increased attack speed for those melee characters as well. I'll just mention that, throw it in there for a sec. The belt's another spot that I quite often just end up shopping because on a playthrough I may not find better. Of course, if you get a good rare belt or good rare gloves or rare boots when we get over to talking about that, go ahead and use that, but don't sleep on shopping. If you need to make up one particular res, here you go. If you need to make up maybe lightning res instead of cold. But a lot of times too, I end up grabbing these life belts. Yeah, I shopped this right from Larzik. There you go. In Act 5 of, was it Hell difficulty, I suppose, but you can get life belts from other characters as well. So life, of course, going to help you survive, but you can also shop hit recovery ones as well, also helping out that survivability. So don't sleep on shopping for those belts. Boots, once again, another spot that I quite often do shop. So head over to Charcy, head over to Larzik or whatever, and see what you can go ahead and find. You need to make up that poison res. Hey, maybe you want to get some magic find. It is not uncommon for me to go ahead and get something like this and go ahead and use it when I'm out there magic find. At least have it in the stash if maybe you got a TZ Andy and you're going to throw it on just for when you're hitting those particularly easy terror zones. Definitely other options. You can even get, see this, up to 40 to a resistance right here. So this one's got lightning. Maybe you want to make up that fire. Of course, it is always crucial as well. Getting some walk run on the boots could help you out too. So you may even want to hold on to a couple different pairs you shop depending on what area you're going after at that moment. Now what's real crucial is what are you going to do with your mercenary? They do not survive very well early on in the game. So this isn't as foolproof. It really is not, but at least there's a couple of set items here that are kind of overlooked in my opinion that actually work out. And I'm talking incredibly early, like before you get a lemon to make treachery. Before that, use these armors that can probably help you out. These are both armors that quite often just get kind of tossed out and people don't care too much about. Some people do hang on to them, but we're talking about Griswold's Heart right here first off, and the other one just over my head here being Natalia's Shadow. Now this one can get 1 to 3 sockets, so it's going to depend how much it's helping you out. But Griswold's Heart gets 3 sockets every single time. And what I have plugged in here is actually my go-to for what to stick in here, because this stuff kind of helps you out the most. Now if you see right here, I actually have 30 to both lighting and fire res, and actually also 30 to strength. Now, why would I want 30 to strength? Well, a lot of people ended up making a insight in a particular type of polearm, and then they realize they don't have enough strength in the mercenary to use it. And that's actually in this Colossus Bulge. You need 210 strength to use this. I believe your mercenary needs to be 93 if I'm not mistaken, level 93. Maybe it's 92, I can't remember. But your mercenary is going to be the same level you are at most. Right after you finish the game, you're not going to be in the 90s. So even right here, my mercenary is level 79, and I can actually use a non-ethereal CV with 210 strength requirement. And that's exactly because of this armor right here that most people just charge you for the 35k. So this is, I know, not the easiest one to find, but I do want to just point this out in case you do end up coming across it, and it can help you out. Griswold's Heart right there to get your strength and make up the kind of some of the most important resistances on your mercenary. Lightning and fire, I feel like it just does a ton of damage to him. Now here, in order to get the strength up to use the CV Insight, I had to stick 3 topazes in the Natalia's armor, so if you do get this one, but it does have 80 to life and the different poison length reduced and poison res that kind of save them there. So poison res, depending on where you're at, someplace maybe like the Stony Tombs, poison absolutely melts you and your mercenary. So getting that over there can really help you out. If you're using a different base on your insight, you wouldn't have to stick these particular 3 gems in here, and you could go with something like the Ort and the Ral to get some fire and lightning res like I did with the Griswolds over here, and maybe even stick in something to get even more poison res or some cold res. Now the insight, pretty self-explanatory for any caster that, remember, that meditation, or anyone who doesn't know, you probably do, but just in case you don't, meditation actually causes you to regenerate your energy way faster, absolutely crucial for any caster. So that's kind of a tip just for the very, very new people there, insight on your Act 2 mercenary. But then up on the helmet, really it's crucial to get some kind of life leech on your mercenary, because that's the way he heals himself as he's attacking, and Bulwark is actually a great option. Now it does take an Io rune, you see right there, Shale Io Soul, but you get life leech there. I believe it rolls 4 to 6. So I got the min roll right here, unfortunately, on that, but that's all right. It is what it is. You get 10 to 15, I believe it is, damage reduction down there. Physical damage reduction. This one got 14, so that's helping out survivability. It's got vitality, increased maximum life. So several things on there to really help that mercenary out. There's a lot of other options up here. If you have to kind of find them along the way, though, if you're finding a Vamp Gaze, you're finding a Steel Skull, or pretty much anything that kind of has a helmet that has life leech is the most crucial here. And this definitely isn't just a, wow, look how great this druid is, but druids are kind of known as some of the weaker characters. I know I get pushback from the druid lovers out there, but let's be honest, a Nova Sorceress or a Wind Druid, which one's going to be better? But here, even a Wind Druid out here, this is hell difficulty, you know, slaying down at least Eldritch and Shank and stuff like this. And then, of course, at least we got the Telly Staff to get ourselves into the Chaos Sanctuary, and then we can kind of go from there. So, see, even with this gear setup on, what we would consider probably, you know, a weaker caster here in Diablo 2 Resurrected, you could even come to the Chaos Sanctuary and hold your own. Even with this incredibly budget setup, half of it just shopped from vendors. Don't forget, like and subscribe up before you go. And don't forget, let any of the newer people know down in the comments any of the other like tips and tricks on gear that you kind of do on your characters at the beginning of ladder. Peace out and keep slaying.